Okie dokie, today we are going to be showing you guys how we made our jellyfish costume from last year. If you came from TikTok, this is the longer video of the TikTok version. Don't mind my slurring and missing tooth. We'll save that story for another video. Let's begin. Every piece of supplies that I mention in this video is linked in the description below. So we started with this, a simple umbrella hat, but it wasn't enough just to put lights and cellophane on the top. So we wanted to build it up so that it had more of a jellyfish shape. And to do so, we used a ton of bubble wrap. Any bubble wrap will do. We bought some at Walmart, and then we had some left over from packages. And we also had some random bits of packaging foam that we used just to build it up even more. But before we did that, we actually had these umbrella lights, which is really just a large string of lights. I think it's like 20 plus feet. You can find these online at lowes.com. And they have a really large battery pack. What we did was we duct taped the battery pack underneath the umbrella hat, very close to the center. We strung the lights all around with packaging tape. We left a large amount of slack because as we built it up with the bubble wrap, we wanted to continue to string the lights throughout so that the entirety of the jellyfish head had lights within it. As we did so, we also used some cellophane just to increase the amount of reflectiveness and shine. So we layered it as much as we felt we needed. And then once we thought it was a good shape, we closed it off with one final sheet of cellophane. Most everything is taped with packaging tape except for the very bottom of the hat where things are secured with duct tape or Gorilla Tape. Actually, now that I think back, we ended up using 2 umbrella lights per costume. Not totally necessary, but it did add to the sheer amount of shine. So if you want yours to be as bright as ours, use 2 sets of umbrella lights per costume. Another thing we realized as we began to build this up is that the battery packs alone are pretty heavy. So you want to be mindful of where you're taping those at the bottom of your hat. You don't want one side to be heavier than the other. This is one thing that I didn't mention in the short video on TikTok, is that the umbrella hats are so cheap that it's not even really that the battery packs are that heavy. It's just that the umbrella hat isn't stable when you add any weight on it. So with all the duct tape and batteries, it was super wobbly. So we had to improvise and stabilize the hat by buying large popsicle sticks and hot gluing them to the metal structure of the hat. This wasn't the most permanent fix, but it gave us enough stabilization to actually wear the hat without it toppling over. So it's not the prettiest fix, but it did do the job. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention actually is that with all the weight on this hat, the very center that rests on your head actually began to hurt us. So we just folded a little bit of foam and taped it to that center so that it wouldn't be pressing against our skull. I recommend getting slightly better quality umbrella hats just so you have an easier time. We just went with the cheapest ones. After we made sure the hat was stable, we then started to work on the tentacles. We used 4 different types of tulle. The first is this iridescent retro pleated chiffon trim, whatever that is. And then the second is the exact same but a different color. We chose Peacock blue. The third is this Ruffle trim vintage pearl beaded lace. If you look closely, you can see it has little white pearls. And then the fourth is nothing. I lied, we only used 3. From here, it's pretty simple and straightforward. For the first 2 sets of tulle, we bought this pack of fairy lights. This is the exact pack we used. And from this pack, we used the colors blue, white, and purple. We strung the white fairy lights along the white iridescent tulle and pinned them with safety pins, just loosely so that they kind of hang freely and they're not bound to the tulle. We did the exact same thing with the Peacock blue tulle and the blue fairy lights. These lights have little tiny battery packs that we kept at the top of the tentacle for when we pinned them to the hat. And then for the ruffled trim with the pearls, we actually bought these balloon lights that we hot glued directly on the ruffled trim. These are pull tab lights, so once they're glued on, you can pull the tab and they'll light up. Just make sure to save the tabs if you want to turn them off again. But these lasted for days. I think it was 3 days until the lights started to fade. Once we pinned all the lights to the tulle and had our tentacles done, we simply pinned them to the center of the hat with safety pins and duct tape to reinforce them. The battery packs for the fairy lights aren't nearly as bulky or heavy, but you're still going to want to be mindful of where you tape them or pin them, because depending on how many lights you use, it can get pretty messy. Ours ended up chaotic and we have the battery packs kind of taped every which way, so that's something to keep in mind. And to hide all the mess at the center of the bottom of the hat, we crumpled up some more cellophane and taped it around all of the cords and wires. Not only did this hide the wires, but it made the bottom of the hat extra luminescent because all the light reflects off of it. In this particular video, we're using my costume, which we tore up and dissected for the video. But one thing that I forgot to mention was that on my costume, I added these little pieces of blue ribbon just to kind of make it a little more diverse. I think I also had red lights that I didn't choose to use. And that is pretty much it. Something I did that P didn't do is I wanted to further distort my body and make it less visible within the costume. So we both wore all black, but I chose to hot glue some more balloon lights to my black shirt just in random places in an attempt to break up the figure of my body. It didn't work too well because the hats were just so bright that it ended up lighting up my body anyway. Either way, they both came out amazing. We practiced doing jellyfish motions for a while after we were done. If you bend all the way down with your knees while simultaneously fluffing up the tentacles and then slightly jumping up and dropping the tentacles, you'll get the perfect jellyfish motion. So that's it for the video. If you guys end up making your own costumes, please tag us on TikTok or any other platform. We'd love to see what you guys come up with. If any of you guys manage to win a costume contest with this idea, let us know. For more family-friendly DIYs and creativity, follow us at PJ's Moments on all platforms or _PJ's Moments on Instagram.